A solid start from Mikolas is lost by another lackluster offensive night for the Cardinals, and it's got fans screaming for this staff member to be fired.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. Follow us on X at JD Sports Radio and at LO_Cardinals. We're on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving you all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. On today's show, we've got an update on the future of top pitching prospect Liam Doyle. Yes, the season is going to continue for Liam Doyle. I'll get you the news on that after his debut this weekend, which went pretty well. Some injury updates on Donovan and Nolan Arenado. When can we expect to see them in action? And let's start with just what happened last night, okay? And it's got fans in a frenzy. Last night, people were worked up. People this morning are worked up when they didn't stay up late to watch the game, but they're like, what's going on here? Because the Cardinals lost to the Seattle Mariners by a score of 4-2. And from the outset, the pitching matchup of Brian Woo, or as we like to say on MLB Game Night, Brian Woo! You got to do the Ric Flair when you say his last name. I'm sure he gets sick of that. Anyway, arguably the Mariners' best pitcher. He's an all-star. He's very good. Versus Mikolas. Arguably the Cardinals' worst starting pitcher now that Eric Fetty is no longer on the team. Lopsided pitching matchup. But that's why they play the games. That's why we go out there and we do this thing, because you never know what's going to happen. And for 5 innings, it was Mikolas who was actually out pitching the all-star Woo. Miles, who pitched very well in his last 2 outings, was once again filling the zones, changing speeds, moving the ball around. Had the Mariners off balance for most of the night. And I'll continue to say this until the day I die. I love me a good pitching performance. Not a thrower that has, 102 miles per hour in his pocket with a slider that just vanishes. Those are gifts. Those are gifts from God. But when a pitcher, like a Mikolas, can baffle major league lineups for 5 or 6 innings, count me in. I'm down to watch something like that. I've said this before many times. Everydayers know this, that Greg Maddux was my favorite pitcher to watch growing up because he didn't have all of those tools. He wasn't 6'5", 220 pounds with a missile for a right arm, but he had movement galore and he could change speeds, and he was just wonderful to watch. Loved it. I just appreciate those kind of performances a little bit more. Since they were in town this weekend, John Tudor comes to mind from the 1985 team, doing what he used to do. Nothing special about John Tudor's arm or the arsenal of pitches that he threw, but he was a good pitcher, a very good pitcher. It was awesome. So last night, watching Mikolas fool around with these Mariners hitters, in and out, up and down, changing speeds, that's pitching, man. And I love that. And last night, Mikolas was delivering 3 straight games where he's pitched pretty darn well. Then in the 6th inning, things went south. And that started with a leadoff walk to their number 9 hitter, which is never a great idea, especially against a team that has a group of studs like the Mariners do in their 1 through 6 spots, right? Like all 6 guys, 1 through 6, are arguably better hitters than anybody the Cardinals have in the line. And walking that 9th hitter, big no-no. Now, Mikolas felt he got squeezed. He was a little upset about that final pitch that was called the ball. It did seem high to me. I think if you go to the strike zone, look at MLB.com, it'll show you that it was a little bit high, but ball 3 in that sequence was one that looked like a strike. That was called the ball. But either way, it's a walk that leads off the inning. Normally those come back to bite you, and it did. Miles had avoided those issues in the 4th and 5th innings where the Mariners got leadoff doubles, which you're like, okay, all right, here's where he's going to start getting hit, right? And then he got out of that. He was able to pitch around those leadoff doubles. Couldn't get out of this one, though. Randy Arozarena comes up next. He singles in the next at bat, ending Mikolas' night. Ali turns it over to Gordon Graceffo, and I know that Ali caught hell for, they're like, what What are we doing? We're winning. Why are we bringing these guys in? Well, Matt Swanson, Kyle Leahy, and Riley O'Brien, all of them unavailable in this game because they threw in the Giants series, which they won, by the way. And Ollie talked about that after the game. He was like, look, we used these guys last series a bunch because we wanted to win that series. We took 2 out of 3. They're just unavailable tonight. So you got to go with what you have left in the bullpen. And unfortunately for everyone involved, Graceffa was unable to get the job done. He walks AL MVP candidate Cal Raleigh. And now you got bases loaded, nobody out. Julio Rodriguez up. He singles in a run that goes off of Mason Wynn's glove, just out of the reach there. Josh Naylor rips a 2-run double into the gap. Lead's gone. They tack on another run on a sac fly to make it 4-2 after Graceffa let Josh Naylor just take third base. Holding runners on. Come on, guys. What is this? Anyhow, 4 runs given up by the pitching staff. Normally shouldn't be a problem for some teams. 4 runs, that's not so bad. That's you can work with that. The problem is what we saw from the offense and continue to see from the offense, or continue not to see from the offense, that has got fans all worked up and wanting the head of hitting coach Brant Brown. Now, fans always want someone held accountable when things don't go well. They always do. They always start pointing fingers. Normally they point them at, and it doesn't matter what sport, whether it's, managers, head coaches, and if it's not their fault, they go to the coordinators. And in baseball, it's the hitting and pitching coaches that go under fire every time. And right now, the Cardinals, despite winning 3 straight series, still are not getting the offensive production that many believe they should be getting from this group of players. And this is where I'm like, well, really? Because early on in the season, if you remember, the Cardinals were out hitting expectations. Nobody expected this to be a really good offense. They're just kind of like, all right, we'll see what they can do. March, they're hitting 301, which was 4th best in the league. Mind you, it's only 4 games because it's March. Go to April, hit 254, 9th best in the league. May, it was 258, 8th best in the league. We were all feeling pretty happy. Remember, we were singing the praises of Brant Brown, and everybody's like, woohoo, this is like the greatest dude ever. We love him. Giving him hugs, showering him with gifts. We're all over him, right? And since then, things have been a little bit different. People still weren't all that thrilled with the struggles of Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman, but then everything started to go down a little bit. In June, we saw a dip to 243 batting average, 18th in the league. July, it falls to 234, 23rd. August, 237, 22nd. So far in September, they're hitting just 203. And since the All-Star break, the Cardinals offense is hitting just 231, which is 28th in the league. They are dead last in runs scored with 180. The Astros are second to last at 191, although they're in first place in the AL West, which means they're probably getting good pitching. They are third to last in hits, second to last in home runs, second to last in walks. They've got the 13th highest strikeout total. They're dead last in OBP, dead last in slugging, and dead last in OPS. That's bad. That's really, really bad when you talk about some of the other teams that are in this league that the Cardinals should be better than. The fact that they are where they are and are just 1 game under 500, considering how bad the offense has been recently, and the pitching staff that had a Fetty, a Mikolas, and a Palante all in it with ERAs over 5 this year. Like, that's kind of amazing. They're only 1 game under 500. I can't really explain that to you on how that is. Maybe we should give credit to Ali Marmol. What do you guys think? Probably not. Most people are not going to like that. But after another 14 strikeout performance last night, where the offense mustered just 2 runs on 3 hits, Alec Burleson hitting the home run. That was the only real offense in this one. 2-run shot in his first game back from the IL. So glad to have Biscuits back. But fans want their pound of flesh. They are ready to fire Brant Brown. That's the logical step, right? He's the problem. It's Brant Brown. He's the one that's causing these issues. I disagree with that. Up next, my thoughts on that ridiculous idea on Locked On Cardinals. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. You got the energy, you got the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, but actually getting tickets, that is where the problems begin, right? Things get to be a bit of a pain in the you know what. You got queues, you got login screens, you got surprise fees. That's what upsets me the most and used to drive me nuts. It just takes all the fun out of getting your tickets, which is why I use Game Time, because I don't want to deal with those problems anymore. It's the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast. It's easy. It's backed by their Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price, plus all fees are included. So the price you see is the price you pay. Fees are included. You know your total up front. No surprise fees at checkout. Used to be the one thing that bugged me about any other place to get tickets is that, like, okay, those are only that much. Get there. Whoa, why is it triple the amount? Hated that. Hated it. Game Time, I don't have that problem. Don't ever deal with it anymore. It's faster, it's cheaper, and it's less stressful than any other way I've ever bought tickets. It's why I do it every single time for every sporting event. I'm not talking about just baseball. I'm talking about NFL games. I'm talking about college sports as well. Blues games coming up. Hockey around the corner. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Locked On MLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go. Download Game Time today. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals first listen every day. Leave your comments on YouTube as well as on X and TikTok. Anytime you want. Your feedback is always welcome and encouraged. Appreciate all of you stopping in and listening to my thoughts on what's going on with the Cardinals. I know yesterday's episode, I don't know what happened with the audio, where all of a sudden it made me sound like this the whole time. I don't know what the hell that was. I appreciate you guys pointing it out to me when I posted it, and all of a sudden everybody's like, "What's up with your voice, bro? Are you sick?" And I'm like, "No, I feel great. Why? What do you mean?" And then I go back, I'm like, oh. So not sure what the problem was. Hopefully this one's fine. Sometimes technology sucks. Fire Brant Brown. That's the chant right now for Cardinal fans. He's the new whipping boy after last night's performance and the decline in offense since the All-Star break. Now, my first question is when you ask for somebody to be fired is like, all right, who are you replacing him with? Who's this guy that you're going to bring in or gal? I don't care what their gender is. Who are you bringing in? Who are you bringing in to fix this? Who's the best hitting coach in the league? That's a question I got for you. Who is it? Go. Is there somebody off the top of your head that best hitting coach? You know, when you talk about other sports like, football, you're like, dude, offensive coordinator, this guy's got crazy ideas and stuff. But who's the best hitting coach? Do we have one of those in baseball? You probably don't know any of their names. Probably not. I'm sure there's some people out there that know some guys, but you can point to teams who have good hitters in their lineups and on their roster and name their coaches, but there isn't one guy that, at least that I'm aware of, maybe you know more than I do, that is some magician that can just come into an organization and just turn crappy hitters into productive players. And if there was, then that guy would be the most well-known hitting coach in MLB history. He'd be sought after by every team every single year, be highest paid hitting coordinator you've ever seen. Personally, of the teams that I've been watching this year, and I've watched all of them, Blue Jays, Brewers, and Rays. Those are the guys that I love their approach. I think they get more out of less with their lineups than a lot of other teams do. They're not loaded with star players. I know Toronto's got Bo Bichette and Vladdy Jr., but would you say the Brewers are loaded with superstar hitters? No, they got some good ones. Obviously, Christian Yelich is a big name. Jackson Chourio, Wilson Contreras' brother, William Contreras, obviously very, very good. But you wouldn't say that, Bryce Terang or Sal Frelick are just superstars, right? They're having good years, but you wouldn't say that. With the Rays, Junior Caminero, but outside of him, who are the superstars that we're talking about, right? They don't. They just have solid guys, but they get something from their whole lineup. Their hitting coaches, you have no idea who they are, do you? David Popkins is the hitting coach for Toronto. Chad Mottola for the Rays. And the Brewers got three dudes. So maybe that's something the Cardinals should look into, is just investing into more hitting coaches. Get them all in there. But these are not household names, right? So I don't think this is so much a Brant Brown problem, who most people probably never heard of until he got hired by the Cardinals, as much as it's a personnel problem with the team. When the season began, we all agreed that the starting pitching was going to be an issue. It wasn't going to be good enough on paper, right? Nobody trusted Eric Fetty. Turned out we were right. Couldn't trust him. Miles Mikolas is who he is. And that turned out to be right. We knew what we were going to get from him. There's going to be some good days. There's going to be a lot of bad days too. Andre Palante, we were hoping wouldn't regress, but he did. So our intuition about the pitching was right. And I think we can all agree that the offense was going to need what? Bigger seasons, healthy seasons from a lot of guys if they were going to improve on who they were last year, where they finished 22nd in runs scored. And they haven't gotten that. The names that they needed to step up have not stepped up. The Cardinals essentially ran back the same team they had last year, but just promised more time for younger players to develop and get playing time. So the injuries to Nolan Arenado and Brendan Donovan have been glaring when it comes to how the offense has been affected here in the second half of the season. Both of those bats are imperative to what this team can be offensively when healthy. And I know that Arenado is not the guy he used to be. I understand that. But he's still one of your better bats. Is he not? Donovan was having a career year before the leg issues started to creep up on him and nag at him, and his production began to plummet. But remember, he was off in that first half. He was awesome. That's why he was an all-star. But then I say that out loud, and I'm like, wait, we're relying on Arenado and Donovan to make our offense work? Then this most definitely is not a hitting coach problem in my eyes. It's not having enough good hitters on your team that is the issue. Hitting coaches, they help you plan for games. What's your plan of attack against certain pitchers and certain rosters? They give you constructive ideas and tips on how to improve what it is you're doing. But at the end of the day, you're either a good hitter or you're not. And sure, there's instances where guys blossom late in their careers. We just saw one, Britt Rooker, who was a guy that, had been cast off and ends up coming alive in his later 20s and, has become an all-star because of it. But usually you kind of are what you are. It's usually how it works. And the issues for Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman, obviously that's going to be the number one topic on Cardinals' minds. These are the two guys we got to get going. They're supposed to be top-tier performers. They have not lived up to expectations in a similar way that, Dylan Carlson was supposed to be the next star outfielder for the Cardinals. Never became that guy. He's on the Orioles as a utility guy now. Those were guys that were struggling before Brant Brown got here, before he even showed up, before you'd ever even heard his name. So how are we going to blame Brant Brown for their lack of production? Maybe it's just them. Maybe they're just not as good as we thought they were going to be. Now, again, I preach patience when it comes to what's going on with Jordan Walker. I will continue to bring up Joe Adell from the Angels over and over and over. Do not give up on this kid yet. Let him figure some stuff out. See what we can get done. But, he's 23. I'm not punting on this yet. Nolan Gorman's a little bit older. We're starting to see some progress from Nolan Gorman as he gets more and more at-bats, which is something that the Cardinals wanted to do this season. But because of the roster crunch, they had a tough time finding spots to put him in, because you wanted Arenado at third, and you wanted Brendan Donovan at second, and you wanted Newton left field, and you wanted Victor. And where are you putting him? You need Ivan Herrera to take at-bats. Thomas Ajaysi has not developed the kind of to the level of success you were hoping for, but he's a rookie. I'm okay. We're working on it. I know he's striking out a lot, but it's his first year. I think Ivan Herrera, going back to him, and Alec Burleson have done quite well under Brown's instructions. I feel like they've been pretty good. Arguably your two best hitters in the lineup. But they were always hit first players anyway, so we kind of knew they were supposed to be good offensively. Mason Wynn's production has slipped, but he's been dealing with a knee issue in the second half, which could be the cause of his offensive numbers dipping like they have. Victor Scott is still a work in progress and has to learn to hit the breaking ball better. How does Brant Brown make him hit a breaking ball better? What do you want him to do? It would be different if these guys weren't prepared. If we were finding out like, oh my gosh, like they came into this game and they're just clueless, they don't know what's going on. But that doesn't seem to be the issue at all. You know, in the same way that Dusty Blake is the pitching coach, as far as we know and we've heard, they get these guys as prepared as they possibly can. There's not much more they can do. You just need to have more talent in your rotation, in your bullpen, in your lineup. You need better players. Brown can't swing the bat for them. He can only give them the knowledge it takes to take the best at bats possible and to the best of their abilities. If their abilities are average, then what exactly are we expecting? That, you know, there's going to be a hitting coordinator out there that turns all these guys from average hitters to like all-stars? I feel like that's asking a lot. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you feel differently, that there is a hitting coach out there that is so good that this Cardinals lineup could become what the Blue Jays and the Brewers and the Tigers and the Rays are offensively, and the A's. Or is it just a lack of talent that is actually on the team in the first place that is why they just are where they are? I feel like they were doing more with less early on in the year, and eventually, as most things do in this game, it evened out. The Cardinals need more talent, plain and simple. That is my solution. I don't think it's firing Brant Brown. I don't think he's the problem. I think the problem is you have a roster that isn't very good in the first place. Last night, they faced a very good pitcher in Brian Wu. Matt Brash came in straight filthy. He's awesome in relief. Munoz, one of the best closers in the game. 14 strikeouts is a ton. I get it. But that's a pretty good group of pitchers coming at you. And we'll have to see how they adjust to tonight's game. And maybe adjusting to the time change was a thing. You know, going out west from St. Louis is not easy. That's not an easy trip. So maybe that could be something. Wilson Contreras is going to be back in the lineup tonight after his suspension. It's finally over. Alec Burleson's back. You know, you're getting some of the names back that are supposed to be big pieces in the heart of your order, and you haven't had them recently. So I don't think firing Brant Brown is the issue. I just think it's a talent issue. But maybe you feel like I'm making too many excuses. Agree or disagree with my thoughts? Let me know in the comments section down below, or hit me up on X at LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Next, we're going to get into the update on the injuries to two of those big bats, Nolan Arenado and Donovan. We'll preview tonight's game, and we got more. That Liam Doyle news, which is good news. We'll talk about that next, coming up on Locked On Cardinals. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when they don't have the full picture, you end up leaving money on the table. You don't want to be that guy, do you? Or gal? You don't want those problems. You can't leave money on the table. You need the money in your account. You need it in your pocket. And that's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives, people like you and me. If you've put off organizing your finances, then Monarch is for you. They'll do the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally, feel in control of your money. It's a good feeling. And you do it without ever touching a spreadsheet. Monarch can help you identify that you aren't saving as much as you thought, and it helps you notice an inefficient investment allocation and discover those forgotten 401ks from past jobs. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. For your second listen, check out Locked on MLB Game Night. It's every game, every night until the World Series champion is crowned. You'll get local analysis, but on a national scale. You can find it on Locked on MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. I will be hosting with John Frisch again tonight and then on Wednesday night. So if you want to stop by and say hi, you're going to be up watching the Cardinals anyway, right? Then come on over. When all the games are finished, we go live. Anyway, let's start injury updates first. Donovan will begin a rehab assignment with Double-A Springfield tonight, and the expectation is he'll be ready to rejoin the team for their weekend series in Milwaukee. And Nolan Arenado should be getting into game action with Springfield on Wednesday. So that's good news. According to the Athletics' Katie Wu, Nolan Arenado, who has been sidelined since August 1st, he's been out a long time, right? Planning to return after the next road trip, ideally before the first game of the final homestand of the season, said, I would like to be sure that I'm healthy and be on the field for at least a few weeks to end the season. I just don't want to just sit out the whole thing. I don't think that's good. Just want to get healthy, come back, and finish strong. So it's good to hear that these guys are getting healthy. Could use them because 4.5 back of the wild card. So there is still some time. Things could happen. We've seen some strange things happen when it comes to the wild card. So having your top players available, not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. Springfield is also getting top pitching prospect Liam Doyle for their playoff run. The Post-Dispatch's Daniel Guerrero points out that Doyle is joining Springfield's roster with 6 games left in the regular season and a week before they open up the Texas League Division Series. They just set like a record for wins in a row, which has been awesome. Springfield's been on fire. Guerrero says that in previous years, the Cardinals have done this before where they used late season promotions to playoff-bound clubs for select prospects as a way to present them with playing in a postseason atmosphere. He brings up that they did it with catching prospect Leonardo Bernal and outfielder Chase Davis, who received promotions from Class High Peoria to Springfield ahead of their postseason appearance last year. So, I like it. And I like the fact that we'll get to see more footage of Liam Doyle pitching. So that excites me. Tonight's matchup in Seattle, Matthew Liberatore against George Kirby. Kirby 8-7 with a 4.47 ERA. Has not been a great year. He started the year on the injured list, and then it took him a while to get going. And he's kind of one of those pitchers that has a couple good games, and then he has like one bad game. And then he has a couple good games, and then he has another bad game. The Rays, unfortunately for the Cardinals, the Rays roughed him up really bad in his last outing, which means he's due to pitch well for the next couple of days. But they scored 8 against him and had 10 hits off him in just 2 innings of work. So hopefully the Cardinals can pick up on whatever the Rays figured out and take advantage of that when they face George Kirby tonight. Libby coming off one of his best starts of the season when he took on the A's, 5 1/3 shutout inning, struck out 7, looked healthy, looked confident, looked poised. I'll take more of that, please and thank you. So, again, Wilson Contreras should be back in the lineup tonight. I have not seen, let me double check before we go here, any corresponding moves as far as what they're doing to open up the spot for one Wilson Contreras. So still nothing yet. So, we'll post something on X when we find out exactly what the Cardinals have decided to do for that roster move. And also, congratulations to Mr. Roque from last night. That was cool, right? To see him finally get to the major leagues. I mean, he got through the inning fairly well. So shout out there to Nick Roque, who made his major league debut last night. 29-year-old left-hander getting his first shot in the show. Good for you. And it gives us another left-hander in the bullpen, which is never a bad thing. So I don't know. They'll have the full bullpen available tonight. Swanson, Leahy, O'Brien, JoJo. So hopefully they do what they've been doing, which is they drop the first game of the series and then they win the next 2. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. Thank you guys again for tuning into Locked On Cardinals and making us your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on X at LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio, TikTok and Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. Like, subscribe on YouTube as we push for 13,000 subscribers. You're the best fans in baseball for a reason. We'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.